things. I'm just going to go with the flow. Thankfully, today will be a go with the flow day. I was trying to make a transmission a few days ago, and there just was no flow. And I recognized, here's the deal: there's a lot of processing going on. I was in a growth pattern, a change of consciousness. And so as that changeover took place, going with the flow is not conducive with the upgrade that's happening. It's sort of like when your computers are getting worked on. The website's down for maintenance, and my consciousness was essentially down for maintenance here. There was an upgrade. So as you know, I've been working with relationships and relating and discovering the big aha breakthrough that you really only are relating with you, ever. Ironically enough, we transpose these thought patterns outside of ourselves. Like, you relate with money, well, it's just, that's how you relate with you. Your money situation is a relationship that you have with you. It's a way that you feel about yourself reflected in a externalized category, but it's no different, because how you do anything is how you do everything. Your lover is a representation of you, how you love yourself. And even your well-being is a representative function of your willingness to accept your spirit, your demonstration of reflecting what God has, incorruptibility, putting on the garment of truth, that you are forever replenished in every moment. That's the key. You are forever replenished in every moment by divine love. And I was having a talk with Michelle on our walk this morning, and one thing that came to my awareness is that when you change this moment, how you're relating to yourself in this moment, you can currently change the past and future at the same time. There is no past and future. You've always been in the present. You're changing the physics of your mind, and it happens in this moment. I think the Bible's pretty clear about this. We had a few murderers in the Bible. We had, wasn't it John, Moses, and Paul? Moses, Paul, John. No, it's Moses, David. Moses, David, and Paul. Moses, David, and Paul. There you go. You have three murderers. All seem to have put together the most meat in that Bible. They put together the most transformational content in that entire holy manuscript. And these are murderers in the flesh. Now imagine this. So they go through a transfiguration process. They go through what I call an atonement. They get a glimpse of their true spirit, their self. And in that glimpse of their true selves, their relationship forever changes with themselves, with the holy self within. And that brings about a complete reborn position. They're reborn in the spirit. Reborn. They're given grace. They have divine authority. Wisdom is their companion now. And it alters the course of their lives forever. Wisdom chooses you. You don't choose wisdom. Wisdom chooses you. When your heart is prepared, the teacher will appear, and wisdom is always the teacher. Well, we seem to have disagreements with ourselves. And one of the things that I learned from Mike Murdoch years ago is that anytime you experience shame regarding any action, you will repeat that action. Anytime you experience shame, you will repeat the action. That's pretty incredible, isn't it? Now, why is that? Well, you haven't grown. And since you haven't grown, which means you're no longer reflecting something God knows to be true, you'll find yourself recircling around, it's like a recircling around the same vomit spill, because you can't let it go. And this can happen for years and decades, and it can go on and on and on. So what I bring to you today is there is a 3-part process that Mary Baker Eddy discovered, and I'll relay the message to you about being able to come to the place where you can be transformed in the twinkling of an eye. Truly, would you not want to be transformed? Do you not recognize that your divine self is free from all of these human sufferings? And that if you could just touch the hem of the garment of the divine self, the Christ within, you'll be free. You'll be set free. You'll be atoned. Now, as an interesting segue, before I give you these 3 keys, I've been listening to the song that I wrote on repeat again and again and again, and it started to seep through my unconscious mind, which is exactly why I wrote it. Because I'm going to listen to it again and again and again, and it's going to program my unconscious mind. So one thing that I've learned, and this is a little secret life hack, is, you remember I told the story about Sammy Easy Money. Sammy Easy Money. I did it to the dog. It's the dog named Sammy, and she's a red heeler and still alive, actually, not doing quite well. Lives with Sabrina. She's old. Blind and old and kind of crippled now, but back in the day she was a young pup. This is over a decade ago, and I used to say I'm easy money. Well, what was I doing? I was saying, say I am easy money, and I was anchoring the stupidity. But the fact that I became obsessive about it, compulsive with it, I used my own obsessive compulsive weakness to become a strength. So in other words, I turned lemons into lemonade by using something that was already happening and programming myself with it. And then all of a sudden money became easy, and money flowed really easy to me now because I programmed my unconscious mind to accept that. Yeah, just by saying easy money. Well, anyway, this song, the lyrics, they were divinely written. That was written by the divine hand of God. That song was inspired, it was channeled, and then I reverse speeched it. And it even said in the reverse speech, it said family in this, and it said we safe now. And so I knew that it was my spiritual family. Sorry, do I have chocolate on my lips? Yeah. I was eating chocolate before I left. I got to pick up the girls. My bad. I should look in the mirror a little more before I do my videos. Make sure I'm not wearing my chocolate on my face. Anyhow. Okay. So anyway, I'm listening to the song on repeat. And I have a dream. Well, it's not really a dream. I'm actually there. It's one of those alternate reality type scenarios, similar to how Romans 8:10 came in my dream one night. The Bible opened up and God spoke Romans 8:10 to me, and I hadn't even looked at the Bible yet. And I saw it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I've told that story before. I wrote about it in my book, Trust, as well as many other stories. But this was a similar thing. I was actually there. And so I'm in a circle of all these adepts. Now, this is the kicker. As I'm sitting there in the circle, I can hear the song playing in the background. I become aware that I am the presence in me atoned. His face as I stare past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. And I'm just hearing it. And so there's this group of us where we are the students, and I'm sitting in a group. It's a sacred circle, and we're in a field, and there are trees. It's like a paradise. It's really a pretty place. And there's this guy, and he has his shirt off, and he appears to be maybe in his 70s, but in total robust, perfect health. He has this gray beard, this long white hair, and he's teaching us, and he's starting to use his hands, and he's like lighting the trees on fire with his energy field, and he's putting energy bubbles up, and he's deflecting all this negativity, and he's teaching us how to wield our energy. And I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm thinking, well, I don't have any knowledge of what you're doing. Are we going to learn something at some point? And then he calls on me. And he says, you get to demonstrate. And the next thing I know, there's a human-like a humanoid type. It's a demon. It looks like a human, but it's actually a demon. It could be one of these alien species that we see on the planet that are part of the, 31 different alien races on this planet. But he allows it to come into this energy field because it wants to come in, it wants to kill, it wants to take life. It's serious about this. It's a demon. And it comes face to face with me, and it's just right up in my face, and it's exerting its might and prowess and letting me know that it has the power. It has more power than me. It's asserting that it's more advanced than I am. It's going to take me out. And then there's a moment in here I'm thinking, oh no, I think I'm going to die. This is it. I don't know. This is it. I'm going to die. I felt like I was going to die. He's going to take me out. And then I remembered, I heard, I become aware that I am. And so then what I do is I detach and I just observe with no attachment, and I surrender into complete peace. And I say, and I look with my heart, and I say, you're not there. I say, only God is here, and only love can touch me. And it was this complete drop of all fear. In other words, the illusion out there, I knew that it was nothing. It was nothing. It was just an illusion. This must have been what Daniel in the lion's den, these discoveries of the presence of God is all in all, but I really felt it in my heart in that moment. And the minute I sank into peace and I completely accepted my fate, this demon just backed up and disappeared. And I was told by this guy, this being, whatever, that was running this, that I passed my initiate exam. And that was the end of that dream. And more that song is becoming known to me. And so let me get into the three-part puzzle here that Mary Baker Eddy talks about, and I believe it's in I can't remember which work it was, but there are three attitudes, if you will, that must be demonstrated by you in order for you to receive and to enter this corridor that I described that happened to me in this mystical vision. The first one is you must become self-aware. Okay, now get this. Self-aware is a double meaning. I mean, self, the capital self, the self I am. You must be aware that there's a much larger being than just this little blip on the radar that is in time and space, like you guys, right? The next thing you must discover is you must have humility, utmost humility. And finally, you must have an unself love. Now, in the video that I made that goes with the new song, it says unself love is the power to break the night, the power to break the night. It shows, Jesus, the man, opening his arms, and the light of truth, the light of the Christ, just coming right through that fog, just coming right through the clouds. And that is what an unself love is. It's God's love. It's not human love. So I'm going to tell you about these and walk you through each one of them. So this may be one of the better videos that I've ever put out if you really want to grow. And, you know, if somebody told you that growth was going to be comfortable at every moment, that's not true. But you should be okay and accepting of the discomfort because it means that you're growing. Don't always seek for pleasure, otherwise you'll run off into these false start ghettos and just continuously seek dopamine rushes and, you know, food, alcohol, drugs, sex, all these things will become, you know, your outlets for pleasure, but then they ultimately lead to pain, whereas full acceptance of growth, the growing pains, leads to bliss. So bliss is a much more, it's the nirvana of atonement with your spirit. Let's go for that. That's the path we're going to take, okay? So the first thing is the self-awareness. Now, Mary Baker Eddy describes it as the searching within yourself for anything that is un-Christ-like and doing away with it. This is big, and I'm going to focus a ton of this at the Eye of God retreat. And I know that there's going to be a lot more covered there, but what I'm learning is I'm learning a real concise way of dealing with these things to gain the most growth and really step out of the gutter of letting the human ego, you know, wag you around like the tail wagging the dog. But you must become the observer. Okay, now get this. This is your transformation right here. You must become the observer, the unattached observer, non-judgmental observer of the phenomenal world, even including your thoughts and body. They're not you. You are awareness. The pure mind of God means pure awareness. That's you. So anything that is ungodly and not Christ-like, you must do away with it, which means no longer react with it, no longer be impulsive to it, judgmental to yourself. An example, and this is coincidentally, these 3 steps are how I broke an eating disorder that I had, bulimia, went from age 19 through 24. So I kept trying to break that with my human will, and nothing was working. And then I discovered that I could just observe it with no attachments. And I just gave myself love in that moment and accepted myself completely in that moment. And coincidentally, that was the last time it ever happened. It just vanished. I was transformed the same way that Paul, David, and Moses were all transformed. The sinning self was known no more. The consciousness that I am transformed and did away with what was ungodly. Consciousness itself will do away with it, not human will. And I'll be teaching this very phenomenal process to do it with all areas of your life at the Eye of God retreat. And if you want to do that, the link's below. It's at makefatherproud.com. Makefatherproud.com. Okay, the second step is humility. Now this is really where a lot of, I guess, truth seekers stumble badly, is the humility part. They get pretty proud and righteous in their own unrighteous position by calling God's creation evil. So, okay, when you start labeling right and wrong, good and bad, left and right, up and down, taking a polarized opinion, when you start taking a polarized opinion, not only do you reinforce the other side and activate the other opposing pole to work in your life experience through the ego. It's the ego's job to take you through the material experience and give you a feedback mechanism of what your thought is reflecting upon. Might want to write that down. When you polarize one path versus the other, you reinforce the other path. You are the same coin, just on the other side. The solutions in the realm of the physical world, the phenomenal world, the solutions create the problems. So you have this realm where solutions are creating the problems. Interesting. Humility is likened to the word meekness, and Mary Baker Eddy calls meekness might. Might. In my defenselessness is my strength. In my vulnerability, I find my valor. When you have nothing to fight against, that is the biggest affirmation of trust through faith that you could ever offer to God. It is unpleasing to God to take the battle on your own shoulders. It's not your battle. And so the final step would be unself love, which gets crossed up with human affection quite a bit. I can sum this up to you quite succinctly. Unself love means being the giver. Being the giver. And for everyone out here that wants to teach, spiritual principles, metaphysical teachings, self-healing, whatever you're trying to teach, you do not want people to become dependent on you, because that's just giving them a disabling experience. Unless you teach them to become the giver, you've taught them nothing, because life is being unfolded through you. Literally, life is being unfolding through you, and being is God. So God, rising out of its own dream, becomes self-aware of itself. And through humility, you're able to get your ego to come along and choose a new path. Your ego must be convinced to come along the new path. Otherwise, you're in self-rejection. Because your ego is your earth guide only, EGO. It is a foundational piece of how you interpret this so-called materiality realm. It's a feedback loop. And if you're self-abusive to your own ego, then how is that going to help? And then you come to unself love, which is come to the atonement of the Eucharist. You are the Christ. And as the Christ, well, that means I have purified through charity. Charity is the greatest of these all. Charity. Pruning away everything that is unlike God's thought toward his manifestation. And we get there through the negations. The negations are Emma Curtis Hopkins, steadfastly facing thee, there is no evil on my path. I put that in the song as well. Steadfastly facing thee, there is no matter in its laws. Steadfastly facing thee, there is no loss. Steadfastly facing thee, there is no fear, because there is no power to injure or harm. Steadfastly facing thee, there is only one activity, one cause, one mind, one power. There's only the Christ. And through these negations is how you get to unself love. It's the burning away of the haystack to find the needle. That's what charity means. Now, this is a process. This is not a one-time event. And having the right training methodology and skill set to approach this in a constructive way, which I also will teach you at the Eye of God workshop, if you're interested, you'll be given a journal to reflect upon and to go through all of these inner dynamics that are happening within you that are showing up as your relationship with money, your relationship with your lover, your relationship with your family, your relationship with people, your relationship with food. These are all happening within you. And until you take full responsibility, and until you take complete charge of the experience, as Carl Jung stated, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will become your fate. You will call it fate and destiny. It is not that. It's just not conscious. Until you know better, then you can't change. And the ego has one responsibility, and that's to keep you at status quo. And so the ego, as cunning as it is, you require a little assistance to get that ego to come along with you on this new journey of ascension. It's very good at identifying what I call false start ghettos: self-sabotage, doubt, fear, distractions, diversions. It always tries to hide the truth. That's its one mission. Because if you know the truth shall set you free. Well, the ego's job is so that you don't know the truth. It has one job. Because the truth is always setting you free. But here's the caveat. Get your ego to come along with you and support this process. And I know how to teach this now. I've been on this journey. I've been growing. I've been expanding. I've been leveling up every area of my life. I began with health. Back in 2015, I decided that a little wasn't enough. I wasn't happy until I was training like a pro athlete and, doing SEAL-FIT trainings and all these other crazy exotic expressions of freedom and mobility that I wanted to do. I wasn't going to be limited to the old belief that I was sick and dying with Lyme disease or aging or any of this other nonsense. So I focused a great deal of transformational power, of focus. Focus is the game. The only reason men fail is broken focus. I kept my focus for years on well-being, and I accomplished it. And then it was really, it was really back to the money thing. It was, I gotta learn money this time, but not in the traditional sense. I have to be able to develop it from within my own consciousness. I have to understand how this tithing really, I gotta master this tithe. I gotta master the seed faith. I have to master the presence within me. My conscious understanding of the Christ within me is my supply. And so I worked on that for a long time. And I got really good at this. And the last component is this new atone principle that, hey, the biggest discovery I'm making is that it's only you and you. And that everything is all about relationship with God. And that's all we are doing, is relating with God everywhere we go, because God is in everything and of everything. And so I've been led on this journey, and I believe the greatest of all the work that I've ever been able to give and offer is coming forth right now. But it's not going to be the easiest thing, because the ego will try to get you to stall out and stop and be comfortable where you are. And the reality is that where you are is that you never left heaven. But yet, if you don't get the experience of that, it's nothing but a head game. And a head game is useless. There are millions of people that could come across the knowledge that, you know what, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. They've read it from Wayne Dyer, and they're like, hey, yeah, I get that. There it is, I'm a spiritual being. And then they go about relating in the same dysfunctional, inharmonious capacity, judging everything by appearance, And they've really grown nothing. They've demonstrated no principle understanding. They only have a theoretical synopsis of truth. They don't have any heartfelt comprehension of this. They're not living from the principle. They don't know how. The surface teaching is not enough because the human mind rejects it. Now, I'd like to tell you that I discovered a back door to go in through the back door and operate through the firewall of the human mind, if you will, and I think I have, actually. And I really believe that will be my legacy that I leave in this world. I really believe that this will be the pinnacle of the teaching that I've been graced enough to teach for those that listen to me, because my heart is for this teaching. Is God has revealed how to come in through the firewall, come in through the back door. And, you could say that ego interface is like the website. And I've learned how to take over that website through the back door and get that thing to function the way that spirit is functioning, so that it stops running its own scripts. Because running its own scripts is how it keeps creating dysfunction in every area of human experience. And then it blames everyone and anything else for the very delusion of sense that it is procuring through you. And it certainly doesn't help with all of the data sphere, with the internet and the cell phones and all of the social media, because where does most of our human focus go to? These are internet ghettos, and they are really about social engineering. They're social engineering media. They're designed to program behavior. And the behavior that's being programmed is not conducive to happiness. The average person has an 8-second or less attention span. I started asking myself this question at the beginning of my ministry. I said, how in the HE double hockey stick is the average person going to ever break free when they have no focus? Because I know that focus is the name of the game. So then I discovered something. God revealed to me, guess what? We're not going in through the front door, we're going in through the back door. Isn't that something? They've locked the front door. They have lockdown on this social engineering thing. But yet, I've discovered a way to go in through the back door and to coerce, co-opt it right through the back firewall, if you will, and to gain full compliance this way. And rapid change comes.
Hello, I'm Veronica with Atone, Being in Togetherness, care of Matthew David Hurtado and Michelle O'Brien. The situation is that you're under a perpetual state of anxiety, blocking your ability to enter flow state and unlock your inner abundance. The complication is that you're being attacked by all the airwaves: negativity, fear, lack, recession, depression. It's sinking in your mind. The question, therefore, is how can you bulletproof your consciousness to be a master receiver of God's abundance, including divine guidance in every moment? The Bible's suggested way to protect yourself from these times is to occupy the right brain awareness and tap into perpetual flow state, where divine answers show up in plain sight all around you. Expert in flow state awareness, Robin Sharma explains how flow state can make you up to 800% more effective. Former Navy SEAL Michael Jacko believes so strongly in the power of intuition. He calls his brand Unleashing Intuition Secrets. This was the secret that Matthew David Hurtado used to ask and receive divine answers. Immediately after he grew a small sum of money into a massive fortune, it appeared in plain sight as soon as he entered flow state. The Bible gives us clues of this discovery that Matthew David Hurtado calls the eye of God, here in Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added unto you. This part describes entering the mystical chamber of right brain awareness. Again, in Deuteronomy 9:4, for my righteousness, the Lord had brought me to possess this land. This part describes how the heavens open up as a state of consciousness. Finally, in Job 9:6, if thou wert pure and upright, surely now he would awake for thee, and make the habitation of the righteousness prosperous. This describes the miracle that happens when you open the right brain and dwell into this consciousness, prospering. This world tried to hide this from you. Modern day mystic Matthew David Hurtado will develop your skills to enter this new consciousness over a 3-day period of training in luxurious Door County, Wisconsin. A place of magic and a powerful vortex for divine transformations to occur. Limited spots are available. Visit makefatherproud.com. makefatherproud.com. Again, these are the days of destruction for the wickedness on this planet. God is calling his elect to reestablish his covenant. It's your time to level up. Go to makefatherproud.com. Selah.
Say, how do I forgive when there's no reason at all? Behind these walls I live as the devil he calls. I'm tempted at every side, and I see no way out. My burden, I bear this fight. I know I must free my soul. I become aware that I am the presence in me atone. His face as I step past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. Oh, the light takes me home. Steadfast, I know, facing thee, no evil on my path, and Unself Love will be the power that breaks the night, the power that breaks the night. I become aware that I am the presence in me atone. His face as I step past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. Oh, the light takes me home. I become aware that I am the presence in me atone. His face as I stare past my sin. Oh, the light takes me home. Oh, the light takes me home. I said the terror won't find me, the fear can't bind me, no burdens to bear at all. Awaken, I put my cares behind me, my cares behind me.